Welcome to another episode of Out from the Horrorbox. I'm your missing host, Dom, and in this episode, as I work on a big series coming next week, we'll go over a few unsolved disappearances for this whole episode. I think it's very sad that these people, be they the family, friends, or community, will most likely never get the closure on these unsolved cases. But the circumstances around their disappearances are still intriguing. So let's get into the cases. There's a front door ajar, an abandoned car on the side of the road, and a last call cut off. We keep hope that when someone disappears, we will not only find, but also understand the circumstances around how they came to be missing. In rare instances, people seem to disappear into thin air. It seems strange that we have progressed so far that we are so connected, and it seems harder to fall off the grid, yet these disappearances still happen from time to time all across the globe. We start off in the land of enchantment, move to the Hawkeye State, and end off in the Buckeye State. Come along as we dive into the disappearances of family, friends, and neighbors. On the morning of September 20th, 1988, Tara Calico left her home around 9:30 a.m. for her daily bike ride along New Mexico State Road 47. She often took this route, sometimes accompanied by her mother, Patty Dole, but Dole had stopped joining her after feeling stalked by a passing motorist. She urged Calico to carry mace, but her daughter dismissed the idea. That morning, Calico told Dole to come find her if she wasn't home by noon. She had plans to play tennis with her boyfriend at 12:30 p.m. When she failed to return, Dole searched the bike route, finding no trace of her daughter. She then alerted police. Investigators later discovered fragments of Calico's Sony Walkman and a cassette tape scattered along the road. Dole speculated that Calico might even have dropped them intentionally to mark her trail. Witnesses reported seeing her on her bike, which was never found, and noted a light-colored pickup truck, possibly a 1953 Ford with a camper shell, following closely behind her. No one witnessed an abduction. Nearly a year later, on June 15, 1989, a disturbing Polaroid photo surfaced in a Port St. Joe, Florida convenience store parking lot. It showed a young woman and a boy, both gagged with black duct tape and seemingly bound. The woman who found the photo said that it lay in a parking spot previously occupied by a white, windowless Toyota cargo van. It was driven by a mustached man in his 30s. Police set up roadblocks, but the driver vanished. Polaroid experts confirmed the photo couldn't have been taken before May 1989 based on the film used. When the image aired on A Current Affair in July 1989, friends contacted Dole, convinced the woman was Calico. Relatives of Michael Henley, a New Mexico boy who had vanished in April 1988, also believed the boy in the picture was him. Dole and Henley's parents met with investigators. Dole identified Calico's scar from a past car accident on the woman's leg and noted a copy of My Sweet Audrina, one of Calico's favorite books, visible in the image. Scotland Yard analysts concluded the woman was Calico, but Los Alamos National Laboratory disputed this. The FBI's analysis remained inconclusive. Henley's mother was almost certain the boy was her son, but this seemed unlikely after June 1990, when his remains were found in the Zuni Mountains, 75 miles from Calico's disappearance site. Authorities believe he died of exposure after wandering from his family's campsite. In 1998, Calico was declared legally dead, with a judge ruling her death a homicide. A decade later, Valencia County Sheriff Rene Riviera claimed 2 local teenagers had accidentally hit Calico with a truck, panicked, and killed her. Rivera said he knew their identities but lacked enough evidence or body to prosecute. Calico's stepfather, John Dole, criticized the sheriff for making accusations without arrests, arguing that circumstantial evidence should suffice for charges. In 2013, a task force reported the case, but by 2017, no arrests followed. The FBI offered a $20,000 reward in 2019 for information leading to Calico's whereabouts or convictions. Then in September 2021, authorities revealed a new lead and a sealed search warrant for Valencia County residents, though no details emerged. The case saw its biggest breakthrough on June 13, 2023, when Valencia County Sheriff Dennis Vigil announced sufficient evidence for potential charges. The identity of the persons of interest remains sealed pending judicial review. Yeah, this one always pops up on YouTube every once in a while because that photo is pretty convincing. Like, if you haven't seen it, go and just type in Tara Calico, and the photo should pop up, and it's really creepy. And it's like, if this was staged, it's like, man, that's fucked up to do, dude. Like, why would you do that? And for the person who found it, it was just on the ground, there, okay, and even if it's not her, then who are these people in this photo, right? Is it staged? Is it set up? Is it not? And then, why would you do that? Why would you go through all this work to do that, right? I don't know. Everything about it just seems creepy. And then, yeah, the thing with the Walkman and, the cassette, and I don't know. It just all seems pretty scary that, even if it's it's she accidentally got hit by a truck and they panicked and they, maybe they did, she was just so, her body was just so wrecked, they decided to, kill her, why wouldn't you just come forward and be it's an accident, right? But I don't know. I feel like this is one that, comes up on, like I said, on YouTube every once in a while, and it's just creepy because all of the things surrounding it. It'll actually be kind of the same for the other 2 stories that we'll talk about, but it's so weird. What happened? Even if let's just say it was somebody who abducted her, right? And then where did they take her to? Where was it? Someone who knew her? Usually we know that the person who is guilty of doing some kind of act is someone that the person already knows. It could be a family member, a friend of the family, or your friend, or something like that. And it's just I just want some kind of answer, some kind of resolution. Even if she may be dead, which I'm assuming she probably is. It's been since '88 she was last seen, and it's 2025 now. I don't think we'll ever see her again, probably. On the cool pre-dawn hours of Sunday, September 5th, 1982, 12-year-old Johnny Gosch left his West Des Moines home to deliver newspapers for the Des Moines Register. Breaking routine, he didn't wake his father for help, thinking only the family dachshund, Gretchen. Multiple carriers later confirmed seeing Johnny at the paper drop, the last corroborated sighting of the boy. 2 witnesses reported unsettling details. Fellow paperboy Mike saw Johnny speaking to a stocking man in a blue two-tone car, while John Rossi, who Johnny asked for help with directions, noted the car's Warren County plates but couldn't recall the full number. Rossi later underwent hypnosis, recalling partial digits. As Johnny headed north to start his route, another boy noticed a man trailing him. Minutes later, a neighbor heard a car door slam and saw a silver Ford Fairmont speeding away near where Johnny's wagon, still loaded with papers, was found. By 6 a.m., customers began calling the Gosch home about undelivered papers. Johnny's father, John, discovered the abandoned wagon 2 blocks away. The family alerted police, though Johnny's mother, Noreen, would later criticize the delayed response, citing a now defunct 72-hour waiting policy before classifying a child as missing. Police initially treated Johnny as a runaway, but later conceded he was likely abducted, though no motive emerged. Months later, Noreen claimed a boy matching Johnny's description was seen in Tulsa, Oklahoma, screaming for help before being forced into a car by 2 men. The case drew national attention, with private investigators like retired New York PD Detective Jim Rothenstein and former FBI Chief Ted Gunderson joining the search. In 1984, Johnny's face appeared on Iowa milk cartons alongside Eugene Martin, another missing Des Moines paperboy who vanished that August under eerily similar circumstances. A third boy, Mark Allen, disappeared in 1986, though reports conflicted about whether he delivered papers. Noreen insisted a private investigator had warned her of Martin's impending abduction months earlier, suggesting a pattern authorities never officially linked. In 1985, the Gosches fell victim to a cruel scam. Robert Herman Meyer II, using the alias Samuel Forbes Dakota, claimed Johnny was taken by a child trafficking motorcycle gang and demanded $100,000 for his return. After extracting $11,000, Meyer was arrested for wire fraud. Noreen, however, maintained belief in his story, blaming the FBI for undermining potential ransom efforts. More chilling claims emerged in 1997 when Noreen reported a 2:30 a.m. visit from a 27-year-old man she believed was Johnny, accompanied by his silent companion. She noted his dyed black hair and a birthmark confirmation, but said he avoided revealing his whereabouts. In 2006, Noreen received an anonymous photo. One showed 3 boys bound. In 2006, Noreen received anonymous photos. One showed 3 bound boys. Another depicted a gagged child resembling Johnny with a brand-like mark. She linked them to child pornography sites, but an anonymous tipster later alleged the images were from a 1979 Florida escape game, investigated and dismissed by Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office. Detective Nelson Zalva confirmed the old case but couldn't verify if Johnny was pictured. Noreen stood by her interpretation. Paul Benacchi, a self-proclaimed victim of the same alleged trafficking ring, added layers to the mystery in 1989. He claimed participation in Johnny's abduction and disclosed private details like scars and a stammer Noreen said were never publicized. Law enforcement dismissed Benacchi. His siblings placed him home during the abduction, but Noreen found him credible. In her 2024 book update, she implicated child pornographers Philip Paskey and John David Norman. Noreen's activism transformed missing children protocols. Her foundation pushed for the Johnny Gosch bill, mandating immediate police response to child disappearances, adopted in Iowa in 1984 and 9 other states. She testified before Congress about organized pedophilia, sparking death threats, but also helping secure funding for the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Despite decades of leads, from Meyer's scam to Benacchi's claim, no arrests were made. The case remains open, a haunting emblem of the thousands of children who vanish yearly. As Noreen wrote in Why Johnny Can't Come Home, the hardest truth is that evil thrives when good people stop looking. And yeah, this is a case that I heard about like a long time before. There's actually a really good documentary called "Who Took Johnny." I actually really highly recommend that. It's really good. They get into the Paul Benacchi stuff, and it's really actually kind of convincing for some parts. Like there's a part where he talks about like having been taken to this very rural, remote home in Nevada that was like this kind of like house that they used to take the boys to, and he remembers being like in the basement with like, and there's writing in the basement, and like that he was there with Johnny and stuff, and he knew how to get there and everything. And so then the film crew decides, you know what, we're gonna call him out on it and see if it's real. He leads them to a house that's in the middle of nowhere in Nevada, and they go down into the basement and they find the writing, like he said, that's on the walls, and it leads into a whole thing about like pedophilia in the government and how the government shields a lot of these pedophiles because they're part of these like rings. And I mean, this is from years ago, and we kind of know that there is a lot of this kind of stuff that we found within the government that is part of this ring that's like covering up things. It's mainly the Franklin cover up or Franklin pedophilia ring. Go on and look at for that. It's crazy. Like it, like this like person in like the middle of like USA, you know, could be like all part of this masterminded scheme of like these ultra elites who, you know, they use these like parties to trap these like individuals into blackmailing them and stuff. And it's very interesting, very intriguing, and it's like this whole like tangent off of it, but it's still kind of crazy that like maybe this all could be happening, and that's like why there was like this rash of like abductions from like the 80s to the 90s. And I mean, it still goes on today, right? Like all these abductions. But I feel like, you know, especially once they started pushing more towards, you know, like these, instead of having to wait 72 hours, because, you know, back then, if somebody left, like they didn't consider them missing, like abducted or like kidnapped or anything, because back then you could just leave, and if you wanted to like get off the grid, you could. Like there was nothing to tie you to, like, oh, a lot of times the cops would just be like, oh, he probably just left home because he didn't like it at home, so yeah, we're not gonna look for him now, we'll wait 72 hours, then you can call us back and we'll then start looking for him. And it's like, what? Like, because there was a lot of this like happening where like people would say that they're just like their kids were missing, and the police wouldn't do anything about it because they at the time in like the 60s, the 70s, even into the 80s, like people just ran away from home, and they would just consider them like, oh, well, they just left. They didn't want to be at your guys' house anymore. So we'll give them 72 hours. And if you find them, okay. And then if not, then that's when we'll decide to start doing something. And yeah, like it's crazy. Like with like, especially like with like an Amber Alert that we have now. We have a code. So Amber Alert is something that goes out, you know, for everybody. Like it alerts you that like there's a missing child, to like look out for them, like out and about. Code Adam started in from things like this. From that's another one that I do want to get into later. But like it's for stores to, you know, like they'll shut down like the door, stop everyone from leaving, the guard all like the back rooms, any emergency exits, and essentially everybody will go through the store and look and see if they can find the kid. And there's a lot of protocols you have to do within that, and it's just like it's so so crazy how like it's changed from like in like the zeitgeist of like kids were like they're just like whatever little people, so little adults. So if they just chose to today they just chose to run away because they just didn't like being here anymore, well whatever. And then it's like, no, they're being abducted. People are coming and taking them, and they're doing horrible things to them. And you guys are just not doing anything because you just think that like, oh, it's their choice to leave. I'm just glad that like we moved past that like years ago, and we take it very serious when like a child is not where they are supposed to be. Brian Shaffer, a 27-year-old medical student at Ohio State University, vanished without a trace in the early hours of April 1st, 2006, after a night out with friends in Columbus, Ohio. His disappearance remains one of the most perplexing missing persons cases in recent memory. Shaffer had spent the evening of March 31st celebrating the start of spring break with his father, Randy, over a steak dinner. Though exhausted from studying, he later met his friend Clint Florence at the Ugly Tuna Saloon, a popular bar near campus. The two moved between several bars, eventually returning to the Ugly Tuna around 1:15 a.m. with a third friend, Meredith Reed. Surveillance footage captured Shaffer's final moments at 1:55 a.m., and he was seen chatting with two women near the bar's entrance before walking out of frame. When the bar closed at 2 a.m., he was nowhere to be found. His friends assumed he had left on his own, but when he failed to return home, missed a flight to Miami with his girlfriend the next day, and stopped answering calls, his family reported him missing. The investigation quickly hit dead ends. Security cameras covered all public exits of the Ugly Tuna, yet none showed Shaffer leaving. Detectives theorized he might have slipped out through an unmonitored service door leading to a construction zone, though navigating it while intoxicated would have been difficult. Searches of nearby bars, streets, and even sewers turned up nothing. His car remained parked at his apartment, and there was no signs of a struggle. And despite widespread media coverage, including a plea from Pearl Jam's Eddie Vedder at a concert, no credible leads emerged. Over the years, theories about Shaffer's fate have ranged from voluntary disappearance to foul play. Some speculated he may have staged his own vanishing, possibly overwhelmed by grief after his mother's recent death or disillusioned with medical school. However, his planned trip to Miami and his serious relationship with Alexis Wegener made this seem unlikely. Others suspected an accident or a crime, but no evidence, a body, a witness, or a motive ever surfaced. A bizarre twist came in 2008 when a condolence book for Shaffer's father, who had died in a freak accident, included a note signed Brian, U.S. Virgin Islands. Investigators traced the message to a public computer in Columbus, confirming it as a cruel hoax. The case took another strange turn when, months after his disappearance, Wegener's calls to Shaffer's phone unexpectedly rang instead of going straight to voicemail. A cell tower ping placed the phone in Hilliard, 14 miles away, though the carrier dismissed it as a glitch. Despite extensive searches, including along the Olentangy River, where a psychic had suggested the body might be, no trace of Shaffer was ever found. Before his own tragic death in 2008, Randy Shaffer became an advocate for missing persons, successfully lobbying for a state law to standardize investigations. Yet the question still remains, what happened to Brian Shaffer? Did he walk away intentionally, fall victim to an unseen crime, or meet an accident that eluded detection? With no definitive answers, his disappearance endures as a haunting mystery, leaving family, friends, and investigators grasping for closure that may never come. Yeah, and this is another one, just like Calico, that pops up on the internet a lot. The footage is pretty standard. It's just him outside of the club, because the way that it's like it's on a second story, so the way the camera's pointed is more towards the stairs than anything than the, because the way that you come up the stairs and you have to turn, I think it's like right, and there's the door to the Ugly Tuna Saloon. So the way that the camera is placed, it doesn't really hit the door exactly, because it's like more, I think it's more so that they could catch people coming out. It's more so that they could catch people coming out and go and running down the stairs, more so than anything else. But it's still like kind of like, why would you position it the way that you did? I don't know. But then they talk about, there is one thing that I always thought, because from hearing everything, and they're like, hey, well, there's these like service doors or whatever where they were doing construction or something. Is what it said that yeah, there was unmonitored service doors leading to a construction zone, and I always thought maybe, and I don't know if they actually searched that zone like thoroughly like afterward. Maybe he like I don't know, maybe fell or like he was trying to get through there. He accidentally went through those doors and whatever. Yeah, like it says like while intoxicated would have been very difficult. Maybe he did try to go through there, and like maybe he fell into like someplace like and got caught, or maybe he hit something and like got knocked out, and then maybe like they were building something and maybe he got built into like I know it sounds fucked up, but like he got built into the whatever they were building in that construction zone. Although it's like I feel like maybe unless you fell into like a crack or something or like into like wet cement, like how would you miss a body like that, right? Or like he fell behind something and then they put like the wall up. I don't know, but that's always what I kind of thought. Maybe it would have been something like that. But yeah, like it's still like it's like things like this where it's like the cameras aren't catching anything. You search the roads and you search the bars and the other businesses and you search the streets. You looked everywhere and there's nothing that's like that gives any kind of like hint at where it could be. And then like even with like the phone, like we know from if you've listened to Serial how unreliable like pinging on phone towers can be. Although it kind of puts you in a certain area, but it also doesn't. Like it can ping off of like this one over here, but like you're not really near there. It's just because that's the most available one to ping from. It's a whole thing. If you listen to Serial, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, go listen to Serial. It's actually it's an okay podcast. I like the podcast that I forgot what her name is. One of his friends did, where she like got further into like stuff. But yeah, it's like, and then if he like left by himself, like, and his dad died, why wouldn't? And he was so distraught over his mom. Why wouldn't he come to see his dad? I feel like something had to have happened to him that caused him to not come back. That he's not just missing, I think, foul play or an accident is actually what happened to him. Although I don't know if anything will ever come from anything. Obviously, they have all the evidence that they could find from everything, and like that the psychic said that quote unquote psychic said that it was something along the river or something. I don't know. I feel like that might be a little too far too, but who knows? It's just so strange when somebody just goes missing into thin air and there's nothing that can like tie down to like, oh yeah, it was this, or oh yeah, it was that. There's no hint at anything, and it's just very scary. For all of human history, we have lived with people disappearing in strange and unexplainable ways. Sometimes they are easy to solve, other times they will puzzle us the day we disappear. There are multiple sides to every story, and even if the explanation is something mundane, there are so many things out there that we will still not know and will remain unknown. So remember to keep your eyes open and check every shadow. We want to thank you for listening, and if you like what you hear, please subscribe to get every new episode downloaded. Do you have any personal or fictional paranormal, supernatural, or unexplainable stories? We'd love to read them on the podcast. Please send your stories, recommendations, or anything else to horrorboxpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to show more support, you can follow our socials on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, or check out our YouTube channel, all at Horrorbox Podcast on all sites. Also, you can buy me a coffee at coffee.com/horrorboxpodcast. It really helps out. Until next time, hey, maybe you should let everybody know where you are at all times. This is Dom, signing off from the Horrorbox.